Hey, welcome back, and I am going to be doing some color glazing using the exact, actually a little bit more paint than I had in the last one. So this time what I just pulled, that is actually a cadmium red light. I know it looks super orange at the moment. Actually, you know what? That might be a cadmium orange. Yeah, that looks like a cadmium. So it looks like I have Hansa yellow, pyrrole orange, cadmium orange, quinacridone magenta, crimson, and then quinacridone magenta, titanium white, and carbon black with a gloss glazing liquid. Okay, so here is a little bit of a tip and trick when you get down to this part where you're refining everything. You can refine with a round brush or a liner brush only in the spots that need help with your transition. So anywhere where you're seeing like a harsh line that shouldn't be that way, you really do kind of want a little bit of a gradient. I kind of feel like a round brush and a liner brush help make that a little bit more realistic. And the reason why is we don't want it to be completely smoothed out. That shadow is there for a reason. We just want it slightly blurred out, and I don't think it's blurred out enough at the moment. So what I'm talking about is on her right cheek, which would be her left. There's that line. So I don't know if I'm going to do it, I guess we'll see. What I would do is try to create a gradient that just keeps that line a little bit harder than if it were blurred out completely, but just make the transition a little bit smoother so it doesn't look so hard. There we go. And I'm starting to go really heavy with these oranges because in the reference photo, the lighting is extreme and we're not even close to being there yet. So I really need to focus on upping this, popping up the saturation value in this piece now, which means a lot of color glazing. And we need to make sure that we don't, if we do add white like I did at the moment, and I don't think I have a lot of white, I think that's more my transparent gloss glazing liquid. Yeah. So when we do add our color, just make sure to add a ton of glazing liquid. You could always go darker after you've let it dried, but it's very hard to get back the beautiful layers that you've done underneath. And creating realism in a portrait by doing these transparent layers is all about imitating the transparency of our skin and how different layers of skin, depending on the light, depending on even if we worked out and how flushed we are, our skin is going to react differently in different circumstances. A general rule of thumb, though, if we were painting a portrait that wasn't in, she wasn't at a concert and we're not trying to make it super stylized, is that normally we see more blues in this area because the skin is more transparent. So we're able to see those blood vessels a little bit easier. And if you're someone who has stubble, that is going to give the illusion of a grayish blue color as well. So you can kind of play with that idea by when you do your Grisaille layer, maybe not adding too much of a skin color on top of it and letting some of those blue grayish tones pop through here. This part of our face is more pink, more flushed. That's the way that we show our color and activity. That's where we show it in our face, or maybe you've got your sunburnt because of the way the sun hit the part that is sticking out a little bit. If you had too many glasses of wine, so maybe that tells a little bit of a story in your piece, what they look like and how they're flushing. And then here is a little bit more yellow. So those are things that you can think about and play with in your own portraits. Okay, so I am continuing. You can see how beautiful those colors looked out when they're glazed out. And this is what I should have done in that painting session where I just completely messed up. I'm not using I don't even think I touched my white. It looks like it's untouched at the moment. So the glazing liquid is on the right underneath the paint that looks purple. That's the quinacridone magenta. And here's a little bit of a trick. Mixing your... Okay, so that did look like a cadmium orange, but now that I'm seeing it, it was just my cadmium red light. And the way that the filming picked it up made it look super orange. So that gives you an idea of how orange looking that red is. And because it is so warm, you can play with it by mixing a warm, which is your cadmium red light, with your quinacridone magenta, which is more blue. And by putting those together, you get a really interesting, like, rosy look. And rosy is just that mixture. It's almost like a mixture of like warm and cool. It's a little bit, it's very pink, has a slight purpley look to it. Now, do you see the one in between? It looks more like watermelon, or I'm sorry, like a really delicious watermelon with a lot of color. That one is a mixture of cadmium red light and quinacridone crimson. So quinacridone crimson is the warmer of the quinacridones. And if you mix it with a warm cadmium light, that gives you this really reddish, pink hue, like almost like watermelon. And if you thin that one out, it does give you a nice realistic flush for the parts of the face that need to pull forward. And the one on the right that we mixed up with the quinacridone magenta is a great flush for areas of the face that are in shadow. If that didn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it. Let everything that I'm saying kind of wash over you this first time you watch this video. And after you do your paintings, some of these things will come back to you and remind you, or you'll be reminded of what I said. And maybe after you do your first portrait, your first painting, if you watch this again, you'll get more tips and tricks for things that you missed the first time you watched this that didn't make sense at that point in time. All right, so the interesting thing about this camera is when I'm moving my arm around, it's creating a shadow which changes the color of what we see on screen. So I think this is more reddish pink in the hair than it's showing us at the moment. That could also be as the paint is wet too. It's going to change the color than what it will appear to be when the painting is dry. At the moment, what I'm doing is going in and applying some shadows underneath the sunglasses by using most likely a quinacridone magenta. All right, I'm starting to add in the whites. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? So far, it's looking pretty good. So yeah, it's actually working out, and I think the reason why it's working out is because of some of that blotchiness from when I tried to correct my mistakes was popping through the color glazing. And now that I'm adding on this a little bit of white, and now I'm adding so now what I'm doing is giving you that tip that I gave you about correcting mistakes by adding kind of a grisaille over it. I'm adding black on top of my piece at the moment to push back some of those values that I lost. I could have lost those for a multitude of reasons. One could be because I lost it when I made all those mistakes. One could be I lost it when I added too much color glazing, but I can guarantee you that when I started to correct my mistakes, I didn't add enough dark values, and that's why I'm going back in at the moment to push some of those back in. And this is something that I do often when I'm close to the end of a painting as well. Like I'll go around and say, you know what, this is not dark enough. So I could just do a black glaze really, really, really thinned out to push some of those shadows back in place without losing the color that I've added. Oh, here we go with the white. Okay, so I'm using white glazed out a lot and adding in my paint with the round brush. And that is the end of the video. All right. I'll see you in the next one.